Kia ora everybody and welcome to week 5 in lockdown for English, year 12 English in Ms. Hope's class. I hope you're all doing well. For this week we are going to put our poetry unit on hold and focus on looking ahead to exams. We may return back to our poetry unit if we get time, but at the moment we're going to put that aside and focus on looking ahead. So today we're going to look at unfamiliar text, which is an exam option for you in year 12, a paper that you can sit in your exam. You may remember this from year 11 and you might not. That's okay. This will suit everybody. So as you know, the English exam is 3 hours long, both for the mock exam, the school exam, and for the end of the year exam. And there are 3 papers on offer. There's the visual text essay, where you write an essay on Pleasantville. There's the written text essay, where you write an essay on Jasper Jones or the poetry, if we're able to go back to it. And unfamiliar text is also an option for you. Now, we recommend you sit 2 papers in the 3 hours. It gives you a little bit of wiggle room in case one doesn't quite go your way. So 3 papers in 3 hours is not recommended because you need to rush them through. But 2 in 3 hours is doable. So I'm going to take you through the options for your exam and what you might need to consider when you're choosing those papers. So literacy plays a big part in this. Your university entrance literacy, those 5 reading and 5 writing credits, the external exams play a big part in that. So of course, for your internals, you've got 4 reading credits from InfoLit. You've got 6 writing credits from the writing portfolio, which is being marked at the moment. And there's also the oral presentation this year offered to you, but that has no literacy credits. So assuming you get your writing portfolio, you have your 6 writing, but you're still short of 1 reading credit. So for your externals, your visual text essay, the Pleasantville essay, is worth writing credits. So if you don't need writing literacy credits, if you're more after reading, then the visual text essay might not be something that you should tackle in the exam. It's still worth credits, achieve merit and excellence credits, but not literacy. The written text essay, so Jasper Jones or poetry if we get to it, is also worth 4 credits, but that can be worth reading or writing credits. So if you need reading credits, that's a good paper to sit. And unfamiliar text is the same. It's worth reading or writing credits. So if you're a person who has got your InfoLit and will get your writing portfolio, then it is a good idea to sit the exams, both the written text essay and the unfamiliar text paper, because those are worth reading credits. We'll talk about this as we go forward, but that's why we're going to start focusing on unfamiliar text, because it is a good option for a lot of people moving into their exams. So what is exactly unfamiliar text? It's worth 4 credits. It's a paper in the exam. Unfamiliar text is different to essay writing. It requires you to closely read and analyze 3 different kinds of text, which you will not have seen before is the key, okay? So when you write an essay on your film, so Pleasantville as an example, you go into your exam knowing everything about Pleasantville and ready to write the essay. Unfamiliar text, you get 3 different written texts that you have not seen before. One is a piece of prose, which is like fictional writing, like a small story. One is a poem, and one is a piece of non-fiction, like a formal article. So you get 3 pieces of writing that you have never seen before. So your job is to then read those pieces and unpack the techniques and the language that's been used in those pieces and what the effect of those are. So you explain what are some of the techniques that are in the piece of writing and what are they telling us? How are they showing it? So what's the language feature doing? And you're well experienced with this, with our Jasper Jones unit and our poetry study, what we got through. And of course the why. What is the purpose of this? What is the purpose of the language? So this particular paper requires long answers as opposed to essays. So you write 3 longish answers as opposed to 1 long essay. So you think of it like writing a couple of paragraphs for each section, as opposed to a whole essay with an introduction and conclusion. So it's really about reading the pieces and figuring out what is the author trying to do with this piece, what are they trying to communicate, and that hinges on your ability to identify and unpack language features. It's also marked slightly differently to essays. So with an essay, you get an achieved, merit, and excellence based on how well you answer the question and how well you unpack your language and all those things. For unfamiliar, each section is given marks, and your total of those marks amount to the grade. So, for example, there's N0, not achieved 0, N1, N2, A3, A4, so the achieved grades, M5, M6 merits, and E7 and E8. So the numbers are the marks that you can get for the section. So what happens is after each of your sections are marked, the marker adds up the total, and however many marks that comes to, that's your grade. So if you get between 7 and 12 marks across the whole paper, you get an achieved. If you get between 13 and 18, you get a merit. And if it's between 19 and 24 the maximum, you get excellence. And this is a more complex way of marking, but it can mean you have more margin for error. So let's say, for example, for my first section, I respond to a piece of work and I write a really good response and I get an E7 for that, so an excellence level answer. My second section, still good, but not as good as my first, so they give me an M5, so 5 marks for section 2. Excuse me. And let's say for section 3, maybe I run out of time, I rush it a bit, I don't put as much detail in, I get an achieved. So my total, 7 plus 5 plus 4 is 16. That means I get a merit for my unfamiliar text because it's between 13 and 18 marks. Let's say another example, my first section, I'm just not having a good day. Let's say I scrape through with an A3 in my first section, so an achieved, 3 marks. Section 2, I attempt but don't do it very well. That's a not achieved, but I still get 2 marks for trying. I still get 2 marks for attempting. Same for section 3. So I've passed one section, my other 2 responses don't meet the standard, are not achieved, but that makes a total of 7, which still means I get an achieved because I need 7 to 12 to get an achieved. So unfamiliar text is worth considering because there's a bigger margin for error. You get points for trying, basically, which you don't necessarily get in a written essay. So they're marked slightly differently. So there are key skills for unfamiliar text, which I'm going to go into in a moment. The first thing I'm going to do is show you what the unfamiliar text paper looks like. So when you sit down in the exam, you'll get a resource booklet which looks like this. So NCEA Level 2, analyse significant aspects of unfamiliar written text through close reading supported by evidence, right? So this is where you have your pieces of writing that you have to analyse. So you'll open the booklet and you'll see text A, which is prose, which is fiction. Now, because of copyright reasons, NCEA don't publish the actual piece, which is extremely annoying for practicing, but you get the idea. The prose is around this long, okay? This many words. It's not long. Same with the poem, text B, poetry. So there's a poem here and it gives you a glossary if there's words that you may not know. And text C is non-fiction, okay, which is a little bit longer sometimes, okay? So that's what the resource booklet looks like. You go through, you read those pieces, and then you go over to your answer booklet, which looks like this, and then it gives you space to answer, okay? And it does give you some hints. So it says refer to text A, right, which is what we just saw, and then it says analyze how the writer's attitude to other people is revealed. So the questions in the unfamiliar booklet give you a little bit of a hint as to what they want you to talk about. It's not just talk about language in this piece of writing. It's this is what they want you to look at. And if you see, it gives you 2 pages, okay? And that's very generous. You do not have to fill those pages. So it's less writing than an essay for each section. Same thing with question 2, based on the poetry. It gives you a hint, analyse how the poet reflects on the significance of the mountains. And another 2 pages for writing. And then question 3, non-fiction. Analyse how the writer's experience with sharks has an impact on the reader. Okay, so you'll notice everything, of course, because it's level 2, starts with analyse how. Okay, so that's the unpacking of language features. So every question asks you to do that. So the key skills for unfamiliar are identifying those language features, analysing those language features, the what, how, why, and recognising tone and purpose in writing. So what is the writer trying to do with this piece, and what is their purpose? How are they sounding? What's their attitude? What's their mood? And how is that translating to the reader? So that's unfamiliar text in a nutshell. What we're going to do this week and in the weeks coming is practice some of those skills needed for unfamiliar text. So you will see in my team's instructions, you will be able to find your assignment for this week, which is about practicing those unfamiliar skills, and then we will build on that in weeks to come.